If you haven't raised your prices by at least 10% over the last 2 years, then you're losing money. What's going on, guys? It's Alex. We're back here with another daily groomer deep dive for business owners. This time we're talking about how to raise your prices. So I know a lot of people out there, as I used to be, and as a lot of people around us used to be, are afraid to raise prices. We're scared of the fear that we may lose our customers, or the customers might head for the hills for competitors. Well, I say F that. If customers really appreciate your work and know your value, they'll continue to come to you because they know they're getting what they paid for. And one thing I always like to point out is if your prices are set too low, they're likely going to reconsider because the service just may be less than stellar. PetSmart charges pretty cheap for a reason, right? So anyways, you work hard to provide a service for your customers. You put in the time, paid your expenses, built up your skills. You should be paid for it. So today I want to dive into why you should raise your prices and how to actually go about doing it. And so for starters, let's go through some basic reasons on why you should even just consider adjusting, raising your prices. So first things first, your costs have probably increased. And if you haven't raised your prices, that doesn't mean your profits increased. Your profits actually decreased then. You're making adjustments based on inflation or you're not. And a lot of people that are not raising their prices are not. One thing I like to point out is that you heard me say it in the beginning of this video. Inflation has increased around 3% over the last year, but it increased 8.5% the year prior. So if you haven't raised your prices 10% over the last 2 years, you're literally losing money by not doing anything. I know that's like mind blowing and crazy to even think about, but trust me, you're losing money if you haven't raised your prices 10% over the last 2 years because of inflation. The dollar got devalued over the last 2 years, so you need to charge more to keep up with your expenses. Another reason that you should consider raising your prices are demand. If you're at a 6-week plus wait list, you should raise your prices. And I know that's counterintuitive, right? Wait lists are good, but also wait lists are bad. It means that you're not charging enough. You might have a bunch of people on that wait list that would be willing to pay you more if they could see you in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, right? And when you do the math, if you can have a bunch of people that pay you more, that see you more frequently, every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, instead of waiting 6 weeks, then you're going to come out better in the long run. And then lastly, another reason to consider raising your prices are competitors are probably charging more as well. Just because you aren't raising your prices because you feel bad for your customers or your clients and their pets, that doesn't mean that the competitors aren't raising more. And like I said, there's so much demand going around right now where if you are staying at the same spot and all your competitors are raising and raising more, what does that say about your level of service? It might tell that customer that, hey, this person's kind of the cheap option. So ideally, I always recommend to assess your prices annually to see if raising it's a good move. Right now, I would say it's a pretty good move to look at it, especially with inflation and where the demand of dog grooming is at. Everything's there. So let's, kind of talk about some simple ways that you can actually go about raising your prices. So there are a couple easy things and a couple, what I would say, no-brainers that I would always make sure you do when you're raising your prices. One, provide good notice to your clients. You don't like surprises. I don't like surprises. The last thing you want is to tell your client that you're raising their prices $20 on a whim, right? So just give your clients a heads up. Hey, this next couple appointments that I've got you on my calendar for, we're going to stay at that same price point. But after that, I'm actually raising my prices and your price is going to jump up to X. Okay. That's the first part of that conversation. The second part of that conversation, point number 2, is be transparent about why you're raising your prices. Customers are people just like us. They love their dogs just like we love their dogs, right? And so they're actually, surprisingly, they're going to be on your side when you raise prices if you just tell them why you're raising your prices. Hey, I'm going to be raising my prices here soon going into the new year to match inflation. Okay, cool. Hey, I'm going to be raising my prices here in the new year because my costs have been going up. Okay, totally understand. Hey, I'm going to be raising my prices in the new year because I'm actually going to be charging more of a premium grooming service now. I went back to school and I got this certification, and now I'm going to be charging a little bit more because my value is a little bit higher. Good for you. That's amazing, right? So if you explain it like a human being and just tell them why you're raising your prices, I promise you they will understand you 100 times more than if you just tell them you're raising your prices and leave it at that. So those are the two things I always like to point out when you're talking about raising your prices. Now, I can't tell you how much to raise your prices, but I did a quick survey of our community to see who and how much they raise their prices going into the new year. And I got answers all across the board. I got some people saying that they're raising $5 to $10 depending on the service and size. I got some people saying that they're raising their small dogs $15, their medium dogs $20, and their large dogs $30. I saw some people doing more percentages based too, like 7 to 10% across the board. So it's totally up to you. It is, some people might say it's dependent on the area. It's kind of up in the air, but I do think that you should be charging your worth, especially with this time in place right now, right? Where there's so much demand out there for your services, for your skills, for your, characteristics. Everyone wants you right now, and your costs are only going up. So charge what you're worth, and regardless of the method that you choose to inform your clients, just do it with professionalism and a touch of class. Thanks for joining us, guys, on this little quick deep dive on how to raise your prices. I'm Alex. Check us out in our private Facebook community. Feel free to ask any questions you want there. And as always, check us out on thedailygroomer.com.